All right, welcome to our little fake recording studio here at the W Hotel in
Hollywood.
Which is so exciting.
Yeah.
We are in a hallway right now because we thought it looked really cute and we didn't have 2 chairs in our room.
Yeah, and hopefully the sound sounds okay.
Yeah.
We'll give it a shot.
I mean, we have microphones. It's a little echoey, but I mean, oh well.
Oh well.
It's so fun. Hopefully it won't be a long episode, but welcome. And we're wearing our new Mountains to Beach sweatshirts because, you know, we're marathon finishers and all. Right. You know, we're marathon finishers and all.
So yeah, welcome to the bonus episode this week.
Yeah, another bonus episode, episode 27.
Yes.
I'm Liz.
Yeah, I'm Naomi.
And we're the Run Galloway girls, and we're so excited to be here, coming live from the W Hotel. And I'm sure now it's very echoey because my chair is squeaking.
So squeaky. But yeah, we found a little spot in a hallway here in the W to record with a couple cute chairs, and so yeah.
Yeah, we're testing out a new little mic setup, which I think is working. And so this is pretty fun. So we thought we would start by talking a little bit more about intervals and pace, because this is a question that we get over and over and over. And it's one that no matter how many times we answer it, I feel like people are still having a hard time with it.
Yes, I think it's hard for people to, you know, understand how it works. It's gonna work for them.
Maybe this won't work.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, hi.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah,
They're
okay.
just okay. So how it works for them.
Answer it, I feel like people are still having a hard time with it.
Yes, I think it's hard for people to.
Okay, we'll go right from there. So it's hard for people
To figure out like how it will work for them versus how it works for us, because our paces are different.
But I think the general like thing of run walk is that if you can get faster going from straight running to adding walk breaks, if you are struggling to get faster using walk breaks, it's time to now go for shorter intervals and breaking more frequently. It might mean shorter walk breaks, but if you're doing that 30-second walk break, that is really kind of the sweet spot for the walk break. And kind of the goal is to find out at what shorter running interval is your tipping point. Are you the same at 2 and 30 as you are at 1 and 30? Possibly, probably. We found pretty early on that for mile repeats, our 1 and 30s were almost identical for 1 mile as 3 and 30s. And so, which was really difficult, Naomi,
To wrap my mind around.
Yeah, especially coming from straight running.
Right.
And having so many races where you ran straight, and then like,
How could I be faster with walk breaks?
Yeah,
the
exactly.
concept of it. And yeah, so if you're struggling if you're already using run walk and you're struggling to recover fully within 30 seconds, it doesn't mean walk longer. It means look at what your run time is and maybe crop that. So if you're doing 30-30 and not recovering, or 60-30 and not recovering.
or 90-30, and there are still so
Yes.
many people who are doing 5 minutes out there.
Yes.
So if you can benefit, if a straight runner can benefit by adding 1 or 2 walk breaks a mile, then a run walker may benefit from having their run intervals.
Cutting them in half. Yeah.
And then the other piece of it is that it can be very difficult as you improve as a runner to really slow down those long runs, and by adding more frequent walk breaks, that really helps you keep your heart rate in control and get that low aerobic base that we all love. You know, it's all about that base.
Yeah, and I was actually looking for, you know, some examples. Obviously we have my example, we have a lot of people Jeff's worked with, but even some of the examples of like, you know, other elites and Olympians who are using run walk in their training. I found a really cool article in Outside Magazine, and it's featuring Bobby McGee, who trained Gwen Jorgensen, the Olympian. It's from 2021 by Amby Burfoot, and it's, if you want to look for it, it's YU. Yes, Speedy U should try run walk training. And the big thing in there is that, again, if you're doing straight running, and you're not incorporating walk breaks, you are, you're not going to be able to slow down that 2+ minutes per mile that you need to slow down. So whether you're an Olympian or a recreational runner.
And really, it's without sacrificing something.
Yeah.
Because you will sacrifice something when you slow your running down. And that's the other piece. The other piece that people, yes, there's so many more gains though to variation in your running speeds. There's more gains. So even if you are listening and you're like, I don't want to do run walk, I am going to just take away from this that your easy runs need to be truly easy for you and that your speed work needs to be quality. As long as you take that away, that's amazing. Walk breaks is just a really, really useful tool to slow those easy runs down and to make that track work more impactful.
Mm-hmm.
And think about track work as it is, right? Going to the track and doing, say, 200s. What do you do after you do 200s? You have recovery. Sometimes it's standing recovery, sometimes it's a float jog recovery, but all track workouts have some sort of recovery.
Some period of rest.
Sometimes it's a walking recovery.
Right.
Like that's just what it is. And with run walk, a lot of times, there's sometimes that we do 5-minute walk recovers. There are other times where we do a half mile of run walk recovery, which is very similar to a float recovery in a traditional running plan.
Right, and so this example with Bobby McGee, he supports and uses the Galloway method with these high-level athletes. So he's kind of modifying. He's not necessarily putting them on a schedule of 15:30s or 30:30s for their long runs, although he does that too. But even just their harder workouts, he's doing like a 4-minute, hard run and then a 1-minute walk to give them that. So it's very similar to our 1 mile, 5 minutes, and all of that for our hard workouts. And repeating that, 12 times. He calls it fractionalized.
To reach 60 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, so breaking it up, and he's basically, the same things that Jeff has found, that it's helping his runners, all these top-level Olympians, maintain their pace with less risk of muscle fatigue, less risk of bonking.
Well, and he's using old school 4 and 60.
Right.
What if he was doing 2 and 30 with these athletes?
Right.
For the same amount of time? What if they were even trying 90-30s for the same amount of time? What would he find with these athletes? It would be really amazing to see some coaches incorporate run walk. Now,
at every level.
there are so many people who say, I can never do it, I would hate it, I would hate this stop and start.
Yeah.
And that's something we hear all the time, but I look forward to the start and stop. Like my legs feel energized when I start my run, and then even when I'm like transitioning into my walk, I'm still so peppy. And then and walking is so fun.
Well, and it keeps the, and this article talks about it, but we talked about it in our run yesterday, in our marathon yesterday, that it keeps the pop in your legs and it prevents like the calf cramping and the other things that start to set in, the fatigue that's going to set in those overworked muscles that are continually working with the same muscle groups over and over. When you switch to the walk, it gives them a chance to recover, and you will see the longevity of it. The endurance will be much farther with it.
And now, so one of the other things that, so we get asked a lot about like what pace are you running? How are you running? Like what pace are you running? What pace are you walking? And I say this so many times, and it's hard for people to wrap their heads around it, is it has less to do with what pace are you running versus what is the fastest pace that you can maintain your long distance running form at multiple times over the length of the race you will be doing. So for us, that's closer to the 7:30, 7:20 run speed. Now, that's not going to be the case for everybody. You have to work and play around to find what that speed is. I think I said on another podcast that I truly believe all humans are capable for some length of time to do 8:30 at kind of a good long distance running form. It might only be for 10 seconds, but I really think that most people are capable of running way faster than they think they're capable of, just because they've been trying to run longer.
Right.
And you know, it's not to say like you know, if you're not doing it, you can't, like, basically, if you're not doing it right now, it doesn't mean you can't do it. You can. It just takes some work, and taking these run walk breaks is how to do it. And even playing with your intervals, I'm gonna do one hard interval of 10, 15, 30 seconds, whatever it is, at my best long distance running form. Then I'm gonna take 5 intervals, that's a run segment and a walk segment, to recover from that and do it again. That's what those strides were. That's what episode 21 is all about, getting faster in just 3 minutes.
Yeah, and what's crucial there is you mentioned the long distance running form. So
yes, you're not sprinting.
Yeah, and so really it's, again, it's a pace, it's your form that you have to concentrate more on than what number you're seeing on your watch, what the pace is.
Absolutely. And you're not, and don't be afraid of your pace, and don't be looking down as the GPS satellites are trying to catch your pace.
In that moment.
That can be really difficult too. My favorite thing to do is in my Garmin is to toggle to my lap screen, and I start my mile. And usually by about 0.4 to 0.5 of a mile, as long as I continue doing exactly what I'm doing, I'm gonna be about the same pace that my watch says for the average as I will for a whole mile. Before that, even in just one run walk intervals, sometimes that pace could be off a little bit, but generally by 4 run walk intervals, you're gonna be at the right pace. And so you can use that as a predictor. Oh, it looks like with my 15:30s, I'm hitting an 11:45 when you get to 0.4. I'm supposed to be hitting 11:30, I should speed up a little bit. Like if that's your prescribed pace, or oh, I should be hitting 12:45s, I need to slow down. Whatever it is, you by about 0.4 of a mile in, you should know, and then you can adjust from there. And that's why I like the lap screen. You can also take off your lap counters on your watch, so you're not gonna auto lap. Let's say you've got an 8-mile run and you're supposed to do it at a 12:45 pace. You put on that lap screen without the auto lap on it, and you're gonna be able to see that 12, like whatever pace right on that watch. It's gonna stay still once you get a couple intervals in, because it's not gonna be bouncing fast while you're running, slow while you're walking, fast while, it's gonna average. And so that's why the lap screen can be so helpful when you're trying to wrap your head around what pace am I supposed to run, what pace am I supposed to walk. You're supposed to average the pace that you're supposed to do on that workout that's prescribed by your Magic Mile, by your fitness.
Mm-hmm. And what's really key is that you should be playing around with your intervals to find what works for you and continue to play with them, because we're continuing to play with them as experienced as we are, and finding that something we thought was useful for a long run pace or this or that, actually and Jeff has been finding this recently with a lot of the athletes, is that shorter intervals are making people much faster than they thought they could be with the set longer ones are.
We would not have been able to hit
average.
the hit for as long as we did the paces that we were hitting using 60-30, because 60 seconds was too long for us to run. And so using 40-20, cutting our walk a little bit, but using the same ratio, we were able to sustain a pace for a lot longer than our training really let us do, or really should have let us do.
And even though 40-20, 60-30, 2 and 1, those are all the same ratio, they still yield really different results because of because so it gives you the same kind of amount of recovery, but your leg speed and your slowing down and speed up is going to change everything. So
we probably
experiment with it.
If we had done 60-30s yesterday at the race, I think instead of bailing to 30-30s at mile 18 like we did, I think we would have bailed at mile 16.
Yeah.
I think we would have just been so tired, because I was already
feeling
fatigued from running for 60 seconds. and I was already noticing a slowdown in my legs after
Yeah.
60 seconds.
Whereas 30 did feel kind of long
To walk. At
And
the
so,
beginning, yeah.
Yeah, and when we would have our 30-30s and switch back and forth between the 60, 30, 30.
You know, I was thinking about that. We probably, instead of 30-30s, we probably should have switched to 20-20s.
Yes.
And then
And then
just
ran
done some
through.
run-throughs.
Yeah.
But hindsight 2020.
But that's the thing, is like keep playing around with it. Don't say like, okay, 30-30s are my only
This
one I
is
can
my
use for
interval.
easy. Like, no, that's not gonna be the case all the time. And maybe that is the case for a while, but you might actually try something else. You might try 20-20, find that you're faster with it, or you
Yeah.
like it better.
Well, I think Amanda said to us the other day, like, oh, I tried 15-30s and it was the same pace.
Yes, as 30-30s.
I mean, it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, Tawny and Sherry used 20-30 yesterday. They were running
Oh,
20,
that's
walking
amazing.
30, because they wanted to keep it a slow, easy run for them.
Yeah.
And in 30-30 would have been a little too fast. It
Mhm.
would have been, 20 minutes faster, which would have been more gray zone and not where they wanted to be. So they used 20-30, and that way they're actually running shorter than they're walking, but not as slow as the 15-30. So
Yeah.
you can play around with it.
It's pretty fun to play with your intervals. And I really hope that that helps answer that question about, at what pace should I run? Like, it's such a complicated question. And then don't think that just because you use one interval, that's your only interval.
Right.
Now, my suggestion is always, no matter what you're going for, start with your long run interval
Mhm.
especially in a marathon, for the first few miles of your marathon, because it's just a great way to warm up, and it's just a great way to keep that energy at bay. And don't skip your walk breaks in the first few miles.
It's so tempting if you're at a race where it's not a Galloway race and there are a lot of people going right off the start line, and you're concerned that, oh, it's gonna be crowded on the course. I'm worried about, having to stop and start. Don't give in, keep to your schedule, just get over to the side of the course, raise your arm, make sure that, look behind you, that you're not gonna block, whoever's coming, because sometimes it is hard to, start those walk breaks early, but they are so important, and you'll be paying for it. Honestly, you'll be paying for it later if you don't.
And there are 3 miles in the race where you're allowed to skip all your walk breaks, and they're the last 3 miles.
There you go.
So if you're like, but I really want to run straight for some of my race, wait for the last 3 miles to do it.
But if it's a half, wait for mile 11.
Yeah.
11, like the last 2. But on a full,
Yeah,
if
absolutely.
you're feeling good at that point.
Yeah, if you're feeling good, just go ahead and run it in if you're
Right.
having a good time. There's also no shame in being in the finisher chute and going ahead and taking a 10-second walk break, because
Nope.
we certainly
We
did
did
that.
it yesterday.
I was like, beep, beep. I was like, we need a walk break, sorry.
And what I do is, so all the time, this will happen, especially towards the end, people on the sidelines and volunteers and all, they go, you're almost there, don't stop now. And I'm just like, I do Galloway, this is what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
I'm following my plan. And
Yeah.
I let them know that I'm not walking out of defeat, I'm walking because
Yeah.
it's empowering me
Yeah.
to finish stronger.
And I'm sure, also when we're not there, really racing for time, I know I can kick in a finish. That's not
Well,
what
you
it's
can.
about. Yeah. I mean, what,
450 something?
It's a little ridiculous. But there's no reason to do that if it's not, what's 3 seconds?
Right.
If you're not going after something like a BQ,
Right,
or
you have a
or a
specific
qualifier,
thing.
or you're racing a particular person, if you're just going out there for the experience and for best time, or even if you're already below your best time and you're like, I'm just gonna finish with a big smile on your face and enjoy every minute of it.
Yeah, look for the cameras instead
Absolutely.
of
Also, the slower you are for your finish with that photographer, the more finish line photos you will have.
Oh yeah, you can really cheese it up and get some good ones.
And just remember that, racing should be fun, running should be fun, and even if you're out there having a bad day, don't try to think of the reasons why you run.
Yes.
Try to think about what running gives to you, even when it's hard, because marathons do get hard. They get really, really hard.
Marathons are so freaking hard, and we
have to respect the distance.
Right.
26.2 is a lot for our bodies. Now, if you are someone who loves to race, and loves the challenge but is not so great at following your training plan, stick to half marathons.
Yeah.
Half marathons are
a
an
great
amazing
We still take a lot of training.
They're so fantastic, but there's a lower risk
Yes.
to your body long term by showing up to a half untrained. Marathons are so difficult.
The training.
And there's such an accomplishment.
The training requires a lot with a marathon. There's definitely more risk of injury. There's risk of things like adrenal fatigue and other kind of like syndromes that can happen from the load of marathons and training for marathons. So
And even just from the 1 day event, the
Yeah.
1 day event can be a lot.
Yeah.
But the cumulative load of the entire cycle can be so much.
yeah.
And you know, I think actually a great topic for our second half of this is what if you want to do multiple marathons in a season?
Yes.
Because we were talking about that with Erin in the car.
And yeah, not only Erin, but like the friends we were with this weekend with Sherry and everyone else, we were talking about everyone's got marathon FOMO.
Yeah.
So marathons are real sexy, real big, real exciting. And
even halves. And so this
halves are
applies to
too.
halves too.
Right.
You can do multiple marathons in a cycle.
Right.
But you can only have one goal race.
Yes.
And if you are training for a marathon, your like fast or training race for
Your goal race.
but your training practice race, like your half, needs to be 6 to 8 weeks prior to your marathon. It needs to be way far in the distance in front, and kind of leading up to that marathon, you have really halves need to be off the table. The idea of racing a half close to your marathon is dumb because it's not really enough. It's like too much.
Right.
Too much to add to your marathon training and not enough to add to your marathon training.
It's going to be too fast
and too short.
So it's going to be, it's not going to provide you the benefits. It might provide you with a picture, a snapshot of what your fitness is, and I know that's what you want. You want to know how fast am I right now? How much has this training impacted me? But there's going to be some detrimental.
You're going to be taking.
Yes.
You're going to be taking a withdrawal out of the bank.
Yes.
That you've been depositing into all marathon cycle. So just remember, you can't race a whole bunch in a goal marathon season. Now, if your goal is to run all the races, then talk with your coach or reach out to us and we can help you too. We can help you run all the races because I've definitely done that too.
I've done that
and
too.
Still been able to BQ with a PR at the end, but it was not as big as it probably could have been had I really focused
on one race.
Really focusing on racing.
Yeah.
So here's how to do it. And whether it's a marathon or a half, you can run a marathon 3 weeks before and 6 weeks before your goal race at 2 minutes slower than your goal race pace. So if you're a 4-hour marathoner, that means you're gonna be running really, it's not hours, different, but if you're a 4-hour marathoner, that's 9:09, you can run a 4:48, which is an 11-minute mile pace, right? 3 weeks before and 6 weeks before.
Right.
You can run 4:48 or slower.
Right.
I generally like to tell people, unless it's 4:0 something, your race should be closer to 5 hours when you're doing marathons as training runs, because there's no such thing as too slow.
Nope.
But at very least, needs to be 2 minutes per mile slower. 5-hour marathons, 5:15, so much fun.
Yeah.
5:15 marathons, like they're a freaking party.
It's a party in the back. It's just, marathons are just like mullets.
Yeah.
It's business in front, party in
Party
the
in the
back.
back. And so that's also a way that you can get a brand new marathoner. A 5:30, 5:15 is not a crazy goal for a brand new marathoner.
Yeah.
You can get a brand new marathoner across the finish line 6 weeks before your goal race, and they can actually be ready to do it again in 6 weeks. and then you can get a brand new one across the finish line 3 weeks before. That one can't go do it again though.
Because they're first.
Brand new marathoners, I actually generally recommend you do your over distance training runs, you do your 23, your 26, and your marathon, and that's it.
Right.
And like you don't try to double in a season, but I know a lot of people like to.
Yeah.
But I would say by your 4th year of marathoning, you can
Mhm.
definitely do some more marathons within a cycle. And the same goes for halves. If you have a goal half, about 2 to 3 weeks before, you can run a half with somebody slower.
2 minutes per
2
mile.
to 3 minutes per mile slower. And remember, you also have to adjust for heat.
Yes.
So we're talking a 60-degree day, it's 2 minutes slower. A 70-degree day, it's 2 minutes and 45 seconds slower,
Yeah, or 3
at
minutes
least,
slower,
or 3
like
minutes
30
slower.
seconds per 5-degree intervals. And what's great is, you can use those there are training runs that are supported. So it's a great, even though you might feel like, well, I hate to go to a race and not
I hate
race
to pay
it.
for it.
I hate to pay for a race and not race it. I'm not getting out of it, and I'm going to be all excited with the race, race the excitement, and I'm always going to want to run hard. Well, just look at it as a supported training run where you have, free drinks, cheerleaders on the sidelines, and then if you can find someone to run with who's slower, then that's always a way to do it, or a buddy who you're training with for your goal race, and you both make sure that you take it out at that appropriately slow pace.
And it can be so much fun. And you can also, there are lots of smaller races that are happening where, it's like one of those, I actually did one called Freedom's Run in West Virginia, and you have a handmade medal at the end.
So cool.
And it's the hilliest second half of a marathon I have ever run in my entire life.
It looks like a beast course.
But it's really great. But
it's really scenic, right?
And it's C&O Canal for like 18 miles, and I freaking love it.
Okay.
Up in Maryland. It's so great. And it's 3 weeks before Marine Corps. So it's perfect. So you do that. Yep. Maybe it's 6 weeks before. But anyway, it fits in with Marine Corps training, which is really nice. So
yeah, so that's, you can still, if you've got marathon FOMO, you can look at doing multiple marathons as long as you're really, making conscious decisions about those ones you're choosing. And I've seen a couple people talking about, like in MRTT, talking about, I'm doing Wineglass and then I'm doing Marine Corps, and Wineglass is 3 or 4 weeks before. And, Marine Corps is a harder one to race. So there's always the option of doing, depending how far apart they are.
I actually think it's a lot harder to race and then come
do it as
into
a
a
party,
marathon
right?
afterwards. I think that's a lot harder on your body because there's just that muscular skeletal breakdown after a marathon and after a training cycle. So if you're really well prepared, I think your last race needs to be your goal race. Except with the exception of, I think 6 weeks, if you have 6 weeks between kind of a goal race and a backup, I think that's really the interval, 6 or more. Because I've kind of been able to taper down, have a goal race, then, kind of recover a little bit, and then do almost a full training block.
But those, like you said, that's if it's a backup.
Yeah.
Now that's, because I've done that too, like with Steamtown and Richmond, for example, obviously. But I guess it depends on your mindset. Like if you're not using it as a backup, but you're literally like, no, I'm going to the back of the pack for Marine Corps and doing, like, I would do, whatever the slowest you could possibly do that day if you've raced 4 weeks before. But it is riskier because
it is risky.
There is the breakdown that's going to occur.
Just be open if you're gonna try multiple marathons in a cycle. Be open to saying nope and stepping out of it, because I did in 2016. I did a Ragnar Ultra that was not supposed to be an ultra, and I ran 49 miles.
You were the 5-pack.
I was number
12.
No, we were 6. But I had like 6 and 12 of DC, so it was 49 miles. I had a 13-mile run as my last run by myself. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Through Georgia. It was awful. It wasn't. It was fine. But we were like the last team across the finish line. It was a lot. So I did that in September. I did Chicago in 2016.
Was it 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later?
It was the 26th, it was 2 or 3 weeks later, maybe 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
And then I did Chicago, then I did Marine Corps, And then
That's 3 weeks later.
And then
Richmond.
And then I did
13 days later.
Richmond. Wait.
And that's when
No,
you did
that
stress
must have been
reaction.
17. It was 17, not 16. Because I didn't do Richmond. Wait.
Yeah, because you did Marine Corps in Richmond. You were trying to get revenge.
That was 16.
In 2016.
Then
And
I
then you did
didn't
stress
do
reaction.
Wait, did I do Chicago in 16? What year did?
No, 17.
It was
18.
17, so I did
17,
not do.
18.
I did.
Okay.
Oh, then I didn't do Chicago. I must have done another race in there though.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
It's-
16 I didn't
it's
do
a lot.
Chicago, but I did Ragnar, and I know that I did 3 marathons though. Anyway, I
Maybe
ended
that
up with a
was the
stress
one where you
reaction. I ended
the
up,
Freedom's
yeah,
Run.
it could have been. But I ended up with a stress reaction in my foot. I was in a boot for 6 weeks, and then I went to Dopey.
And it's amazing that you could do that. And that's the thing,
But-
everybody's experience is different. You might see someone get a stress reaction and get out of their boot and go do dopey. That is not the case for everyone.
I had 3 weeks before
But-
Dopey.
Please listen
Well,
to your
but
doctors.
they also that year in 2017 they canceled the half.
Right.
So I ran the half with a friend, and we ran it around the resort the night before,
Yeah.
and I literally ran 13-minute miles. So like it was
Yeah.
really easy. It
You
was
took
light
it
on
way
steps.
down a level.
But the other thing about it is the way to do all of that is to make sure that you're not running everything in your gray zone.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the issue, is that I was just running everything kind of as fast as I could.
You were
at
kind of
that
racing
point.
everything. And that's
Yeah.
the difference.
And I
kind of-
wasn't getting faster.
And that's the difference is, can you do multiple races in a season? Can you do multiple marathons in a season? Yes. Can you race every race? So can you
No.
do every race? Yes. Can you race every race? No.
No. And so a good example of can you do every race is 2017 was the year that I did the same Ragnar Ultra as a 5-pack. So I
Had like
you know,
50
did
miles.
a lot of runs. It was
40
great.
up to 50 miles.
It was great. So I did the same Ragnar Ultra as a 5-pack. I did Chicago. I did Chicago and got a PR there,
Raced.
and I really raced. And I had taken that Ragnar Ultra really easy, but that was my last long run. I raced in Chicago and got a PR, huge PR. It was my first time under 4 hours in years. It was 2017. I went 3:44. Then I came back and did Marine Corps in a 4:09, and 4:09 I'd run twice there. So 4:09 is what we
So it
just
wasn't
ran.
super easy, but it was-
9:30, but 9:33 versus it was a minute slower than race
Yes.
pace. And then we went and we did Richmond.
Right.
2 weeks later, and we were 3:50. That was really great, consistent shape.
Yes.
And then I went into Dopey again, and was able to do 53 at 3:53 at the marathon at the end of Dopey. So I was able to race all of Dopey, but in there was a lot of time off and really intentional training. Like I took recovery days. I didn't run everything all out. I did easy runs, and that's really the difference. Like you have to do easy runs.
Yeah. And so, if you're considering it, or if you're seeing all your friends, or if you got into some of the world majors and you're so excited to go do those,
Yeah.
you can do multiple marathons in a season, but just really think about it.
Be intentional.
Be intentional.
Be intentional, yeah,
talk
for
to
sure.
someone, talk to your coach, or talk to us about how you can make that work for you.
Yeah.
Don't just haphazard think I'm gonna race them all, or one's a backup for the others. It's not necessarily the smartest way to do it.
And like if you are looking at the end of a season or the end of a cycle for revenge race, my suggestion is always to keep most people, you are a rare person if you can do 5 to 7 weeks. The better interval is more like 8 to 10 weeks away, because it does allow you to recover fully and then have a small ramp up. Whereas if you do it a little shorter, you're not going to get as big of an improvement, or even as big of it's not a true predictor of your fitness. And an example of that is Naomi's halves predict a really great marathon time, yet her PRs are all revenge races. I mean, your 350 at Richmond was a revenge race
True.
from October, right?
And then Philly
And your Philly
was
after
6 weeks.
was
3 weeks after MCM, but 6 weeks after my
6 weeks
my goal race
after
of Chicago.
Chicago. And so that was a little close. I think I actually think had you waited and come to CIM, you probably
Yeah.
would have run
For
like
some more time down.
40.
And
Like-
it's only because I didn't want to fly to California twice.
Yeah.
Which now I'm like, I want to fly here every day.
Yeah.
But
well, we
the
hadn't
other
even
way-
been to California yet. That was 2018. We hadn't been to
we weren't going
California yet.
Maybe it's because we flew to Chicago.
Yeah.
But what I would say also is, you know, yes, you want revenge on, maybe you want revenge in a marathon. Okay, if you can wait 5, 6 or more weeks, you still may fail at it. How about you look at maybe just going and doing a half and having your revenge.
I still say 6 weeks.
But still 6 weeks.
I still say 6 weeks.
But you'll probably have a more successful,
But I
shorter
would say,
distance if you really need to see your fitness in action.
I even think just be proud of your whole training cycle.
That you did.
Just be
that you
proud of
did
your
it.
training cycle and let it come to a close.
Yes.
And take your 6 weeks of recovery, your full 6 weeks after a marathon. And like we're talking just recover, and then think about a new training cycle.
Right.
But take a complete down cycle, which we did not take, had the pandemic not happened.
Right.
I may have never taken a down cycle.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
honestly,
Well, and had I not been pregnant, I wouldn't have taken one. I was just go.
We went from 2017, we went from Richmond right into training what did we do in
so
18 spring?
Spring 18, we did
10
train
miler.
for a 10 miler.
We did
small,
10 miler.
shorter distance.
And then we went right into Chicago training. And then we were right from Chicago into Dopey training, right into Mountains to Beach training, right into, then you were trying to get pregnant, but like, then I went right into training for
the fall
CIM
marathons,
and for the Marine Corps 50K. And I
Right.
mean, I actually decided it was
No
going to be my
downtime.
fall of all the marathons
Yeah.
and like that, and all the races.
Fall of
So I
fun.
did, that's right, it was the fall of fun. So I paced in Ohio, which was really fun, and then I ran Marine Corps at 50K, and then I ran Disney Wine and Dine and actually raced that. I raced an Army 10 miler before Marine Corps, and then I
It's
ran.
like every weekend.
Then I paced at Richmond, which was really fun, and then I went to CIM, and yeah, it
So
was
crazy. But like Liz is also like a unicorn in
Right.
that she's able to recover really well, race really well, and her fitness was just like
It
unbelievable.
was really good. Well, you know
But-
what? I was actually texting with Kendall, and she was like, "Yeah, Ash is amazing. Like, I don't recover like that." And I was like, "Yeah, like probably am a little bit more like Ash in recovery sense
Right,
too.
you can get back out there.
Yeah.
What I would
Relatively low injury risk.
I would say
profile,
is that's
too.
exactly right. Is like no matter what happened on race day, and so you didn't have it go your way. Okay, again, why do you need to get revenge? Let's look at the why again. Why are you running? Is it for time? Is it for other things in your life? What is it bringing to you? And look back at that season. I love that we take a lot of pictures and videos.
Oh my gosh, we take so many pictures
out on
and
our
videos.
runs. And out on our runs, we take these pictures and videos, and we have our screenshots of those each and every single run, so we can analyze our data.
Oh, it's
Go
our
back
favorite thing to
and
do.
look on your Strava. Go back and look in your Garmin and analyze all of your data. It's so great.
It's so
But
fun.
go back and look at all your pictures. Take
Yeah.
pictures during your run.
Yeah.
And remember like all the fun that you just had for like 4 months and what that brought to your life, and not necessarily what happened on that one day,
Yeah,
that race day.
It's not about your race time, it's about the good time that you had getting to the race starting line.
Yes.
And the good time that you have on the course. And if you're not having a good time, well, figure out a way to make
Right.
yourself have a good time. I think Sarah was really insightful yesterday when she said, "I'm just tired of running races alone." And I said,
I
well,
know, because that's what she
maybe-
wants it to be about,
right.
being together.
And I think that that's amazing. Then maybe it can't be about running a PR if you're going to
Yeah.
run together. So, you
And
know.
like your training cycle, the training block is the cake. Okay?
Yeah.
That's your birthday cake. The race is just that little bit of icing on top.
It's the
and I prefer
decorations.
the cake over the icing personally.
I mean, I like
Icing's
icing.
sweet, but
I like
good at
icing,
racing, so.
but you know,
But like,
but also I'm gluten free.
That's right. But like look at all that cake, you had all that delicious cake before. And so just try to look at how, what has that training cycle brought to you.
But I literally said, I don't care if I ever PR again. I'd rather run all my races with you.
And it's
it's
sweet.
so much
And
more
me
fun.
too. And we've come around to that. It's taken time for us to completely pivot and turn around and realize that that's what it's about. So
I mean, I might still say go ahead if you're really having a good day and you were like,
and you were time that we can hit.
You were like, I really think I can go and get this PR. I might be like, okay, go for it.
Of course, because we want the best for each other.
But I think
that's
you would
not
cross the finish line with the PR,
And be
and then
sad.
you'd be like, oh, I should have just stayed with Liz.
I would.
This doesn't actually make me happy.
I would.
That's the thing. You think a time is gonna make
Oh
you
my gosh.
so happy,
Yes.
and then you don't even remember your time.
No, and literally yesterday I was saying this too because I know we wanted sub 4. I also had said during many events I'd be so happy with 420, and then we hit 409 something, and I was thinking, it would have been nice to have the 405, and then I realized no, if we had 405 I would have wanted 4. And if we had 4, I would have wanted 357.
I
There's
actually,
never a
you know
good-
what?
It's never enough, right?
409 was perfect because I have run Marine Corps twice in a 409.
Yeah.
Actually 3 times in a 409. Twice by myself and once with Jess. And so I'm like, 409, yeah, I got this. And it's isn't it 9:30 exactly?
It was, Garmin's at 9:29.
Okay.
Our Strava moving time says 9:23 because of the bodies.
So I
It's a
think
freaking fast time.
9:30 is such a great starting
great
place
pace.
to move forward from.
That's true.
And we're just gonna get faster from there, and
But it's also
fantastic.
even if we don't, or even if we do, it's
All
just
we have to do is
it's
stay
just
this fast and then turn
and
60,
get older.
60 or 65?
65, 60. I don't know. We'll look at it.
We need to figure it out.
But what it is it's just like money. There's never enough.
Yeah.
You can get more and more and more, and you still want more.
Yeah.
And the same thing with
Bony
race
money
times.
hands.
Bony money hands. That was the
Bony
greatest.
money hands.
And so with race times, with anything,
Yeah.
you will get that time, and you're gonna want more. You're gonna say, well, I want a few minutes even faster than that.
So you know what though? I have been running for a long time, and I don't and I've been racing, and I race hard sometimes, maybe. My favorite races are ones when I feel amazing the next day, and even during.
Right.
I was like, man, if only I wasn't worried that I would sprain my ankle. Yesterday I wanted to do cartwheels in the grass. I felt so good. That's how I like to finish races. I like to finish races thinking even though it was hard, if it was 10 more miles, I could have done it. And I did feel that way yesterday.
Yeah.
And maybe that means that ultras are my future.
Yeah.
But maybe not.
We'll see. Well, I love, and you were commenting how I was taking pictures of all the things around LA and whatever.
Yeah. It's great.
I love scenery, and so I'm what I want during my races is, well, I wish I just had my camera and take all the pictures, but I want the mental snapshots of all the scenery and the race itself, and I can't do that when I'm racing hard. I have blinders on and I don't see a damn thing. It's you're just got eyes on the finish line. So I want to have those races like yesterday where I'm looking at the peacocks and the chickens and the mountains and taking in all the mental snapshots, which I can do at the pace we ran yesterday.
I want a drone to follow us in front of us when we're running so that we can have
the pictures too.
Yeah, we can just have somebody videotaping us running the whole time.
Yeah.
Because that would be fun. I can make a lot of cute reels from that.
That would be awesome. If anyone wants to send us a drone,
who's gonna control it though while we run? Do we have to fly it? And then how long does the battery last?
I don't know.
We need a
So
drone.
many questions.
Yeah, we need and how far away can they be? Could we have somebody sitting 20 some miles away,
I don't think so.
piloting our
I
drone?
think it's radio controlled. It's probably got to be within a range, 100 feet, 200.
Okay,
I
so
don't know.
except I don't think that you can fly drones
I know,
in
in
DC.
cities and stuff.
Oh, so a rest and run,
Yeah.
someone could do.
Or training
so
runs.
dumb. I had just thinking about. We really need a bike bitch.
Yeah, so if anyone wants to do that for us, that'd be super
I
cool.
still think we just get your daughter.
I know.
We put a GoPro on her. We put
put it
we
put
can
other handlebars.
But you know what? We can't. Yeah, I was about to say we can't put it on her helmet because she'd be looking the other way. We'd be like, "Where's us running?" She's like, "There was a squirrel over there and a dog."
See, another one that I can get a picture of, the ground squirrels, the crazy, amazing
yeah.
California squirrels.
California ground squirrel.
That's what I want. I just want to have all the memories of it, and like
Yeah.
we have to slow down a little bit to get those memories. And so I'd rather have those memories and have us running together than have
Yeah.
the time.
It's so fun. Plus, it's just fun to run together. It's way more fun. All right, well, that's a great extra little bonus episode for number 27.
Oh my gosh.
And tomorrow actually, will it be a bonus episode? Are we going to publish this one on Wednesday?
Well, tomorrow's Tuesday.
Tomorrow's
Publish it
Tuesday.
Tomorrow.
And then we might record again.
Yeah,
So we
we'll
have
try
one
and
for
record
Wednesday. So
So,
unless or we just get up Wednesday morning.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get up. We're on who knows what time.
Who knows
You
what
know,
time?
But
Oh
yeah,
my goodness.
live from Hollywood. So
Yeah,
hopefully you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And we'll be talking to you soon.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
And bye here.
Bye.